A mountain climber named Aaron packs his stuff and goes for hiking without telling anyone. He sleeps in the car at night. He continues his journey on the bike next morning. On the way to the canyon, he fell off his bike but there is no harm or injury. He continues his journey. After travel some distance on the bike, he locks his bike and start hiking. On the way, he sees two girls, Christy and Megan, who lost their way out. Aaron helps them with the direction and offer to walk with them to their destination. They agreed. He took them to a hidden place in the canyon, where they enjoyed a lot. After some time, they continued their journey. After guiding them to their way out and saying goodbye, Aaron kept going to his own way. On his way he was going in between the rocks. As he was climbing in between the rocks, a rock suddenly slips which made him unbalanced and he fell off in between the rocks and a rock fall on his arm. Now his arm is stuck in between the rocks. He soon realizes that he can't move his arm an inch. After several tries to release his arm, he starts to panic. He soon realizes that it's not going to be easy to escape from there. So he calms himself down and drinks some water from his bottle. He shouted those girls' names, hoping that they might listen but they were nowhere near. He calms himself down and manages all of his stuff on the rock. He has a small knife in his bag. He starts to cut the rock with the knife but soon he realizes that it's not sharp enough. He keeps on trying. As he was trying to cut off the rock, the knife fell down. He tried to pick it up. He tried so many times and finally grabbed that knife with a stick successfully. He checked his stuck arm with the knife. He couldn't feel anything. He keeps on trying to cut the rock. He was feeling thirsty and keeps looking at water but resists himself because he wants to save it for later. At 12 a.m. he finally drinks some water. On to the next day, he starts to record himself, telling the events that's happening. How he stuck there and telling anyone who find this recording to give it to his parents. After spending so many hours alone, he starts to remember good things but soon he realizes that he has very less water left in his bottle. He realizes that nobody is looking for him because he told no one where he was going. Next morning, he tried to pull up the rock by lifting it up with the help of ropes but there is no success at all and he was losing hope. He tried to remember good things but he was very thirsty and there is very less water left in his bottle. He was continuously recording himself telling the current situation. He was seeing birds flying above him waiting for him to be dead. As he was trying to cut the rock with his small knife, he realizes that his hand gets stuck in there further and further. So a thought came into his mind that he will cut his arm off. He tried to cut his arm with that small knife but it's not sharp enough. He thinks about his family and friends when he felt sad and hopeless. All of this affected him mentally. He starts to imagining things. He starts talking to himself as he was filming himself. He drank last drops of water left in his bottle. His heart rate slowing down as the time passes. At last he stabbed the knife into his arm. He was feeling his arm bone through the knife. He pulled out the knife. He tired after so many tries. Then he sleeps and dream about his childhood and parents. Next morning when he wakes up, he tries again. This time he tries to break his arm bone so he could cut his flesh off. Eventually he broke his arm bone and started cutting his mass off with the knife. He was so much in pain but he kept cutting his arteries and tied his arm with a strip to stop the blood. He was on the verge of unconsciousness but he didn't give up until he completely cut his arm off. Then he covers up his arm with a bag and says the last goodbye to that place. He tumbled down his way out. He was so happy to escape himself from that place. Finally he saw water which is not clean but it didn't matter at that moment. But he still had to climb down from the canyon. He set up the rope and climbed down with one hand. When he came down, he quickly went for the water. He drank as much as he can and he washed himself with that dirty water. After that he continued walking to the way out. He was very weak and low on energy. He was going to unconsciousness when he saw some people and he waved his hands towards them asking for help. They quickly reached to him and gave him some water. After some time a helicopter reached for help and rescued him.